Well, with the news that a few AAA publishers are signed up as a validator on a on a new blockchain thing, we do have a fun story. One of those that involves crashing, burning, and honestly, some sheer insanity. This is a story of hubristic game development, international sanctions, and, of course, most terrifying, the tax man.
Because everyone knows there are two things that are inescapable. One is taxes, and the other is what happened to these people. Not literally, the company.
Yeah, it's this is a funny one. So, the thing is, though, they worked out the sacred solution to game development. Not all game developers actually have access to this incredible code, this incredible formula. Half the fun in MMOs is teaming up with your friends and taking down epic bosses. Half the fun in NFTs is getting to use and show off your little piece of art in a fun way. We will combine those, and according to our calculations, that means you get 100% of the fun.
So,
I mean, I'd rather have all the fun of an MMO and apparently all the fun of an NFT, not just half of each, but...
Yeah, so this is my first thought, right? So, if they're going into NFTs and going into crypto, you would assume that requires some technical level of prowess, right?
Yes.
And generally speaking, in the programmatic realm, it's a skill unto itself. But one of the things that works really well is mathematical knowledge. And if this is what they think is mathematically correct, I'm very worried for where this story is going to go. That's not...
Yep. So the thing is, though, they're trying to sell the fact that they're doing play to earn right. That their game is fun first. Because that's what Northern Guilds the game was going to be. Pixie Interactive were going to deliver this game, right? They say it's a fast-paced, fun-first, action combat, massively multiplayer online game. The player journey will cover treasure hunting, epic bosses, teaming up with friends and endgame content, legendary items, becoming rich and famous, selling rare, items and things,
like
hanging around in town hubs, showing off your gear, getting lost in a vast world of Norse mythology. The only thing you won't do is get bored. And, hey, you know what? Does look like a nice little game. I really do like that top-down aesthetic, right? So, hey, all good. And apparently even better, Matt, they cracked Play to Earn.
Yeah.
They've got it finally good.
I know Play to Earn's cracked, I know.
So, there's a lot of obvious terrible stuff in Play to Earn that we've talked about. And they were saying that they were trying to fix some of this. So, this is from their investor deck, right? Play to Earn is broken. That's how they're going to sell their Play to Earn game, by telling investors that it's a broken model, saying that often boring games, I mean, look at Axie Infinity, extraction-based economies where people participate only to extract monetary value,
Diablo 3,
which is fundamentally unsustainable, again, Axie Infinity, and limited crossover appeal, right? Because none of the crypto games are getting a large number of non-crypto natives playing them. So, in fairness, all of those things are true. All those things are true. And they are going to solve that problem, they say.
That's what I love, right? Because anyone with half a functioning brain can identify problems. Identifying problems on like a macro scale is the easy part. The hard part is actually kind of solving it.
Yeah.
But it seems like the investor kind of types don't really realize that too well.
So what they're saying is that they're going to fix the problem of an extraction-based economy, and it's going to be a game that attracts people like us, Matt.
Us gamers.
Us gamers, woo!
Yeah, people who play video games for fun instead of for monetary gain.
That's it. This is going to be big news for gamers all around the world. Finally, a game that is fun all of the time.
I've been waiting goddamn near 30 years for that.
Yep, so they're saying, the lion's share of gamers have never had any blockchain interaction, anything like that. They have a solution that allows general gamers to enjoy Northern Guilds without at the same time diluting the value proposition for the traders, for the crypto natives, right? And they're basically just saying, hey, this is a fun game. People are going to play because it's a fun game, and we're going to have all of that stuff. We're going to fix the problem of it being an extraction-based economy, which will avoid an entire in-game economy that is, in fact, based around taking stuff out of that economy and selling it in trading sites. Cool. Now, the thing is this ended up being a pretty strong pitch. And in fairness, if they solved all of these things and they were saying, hey, we're going to be a play-to-earn MMO, but it's actually going to be sustainable. If you're an investor, this does seem better than Axie Infinity. Seems better than the boom-bust games. But the problem is, on the 22nd of July, they went bankrupt. Now, this was actually somewhat surprising to a lot of the people there because they actually had funding to do years. So how did they go bankrupt?
Oh, no. Put your guesses down below. I think you might be onto something.
Yes, get ready for your bingo. Okay, so one of the employees posted a management-approved message on the game's Discord that basically, we're going to summarize for you. In February 2022, management members Tom and Wesley, the CEO and CTO, so that's Chief Executive Officer and Chief Technical Officer, they began looking for investors for another funding round. And staff thought that this was a bit surprising because they actually had money to last 1 to 2 years of development with their current team. Now, Wesley later shared that they scaled too fast and they needed more cash to pay for salary, so they attended several conferences through May and seemingly attracted some investors. Now, this is great news, but there's a slight problem. Those investors were Russian nationals, and, things have happened. Things have happened, and that could have been an issue because of sanctions limiting certain things, right?
Cool.
Now, in June, they had seemingly found other investors. But those investors dropped out because, quote, leadership was a mess and they did not have a roadmap. Now, these are all problems. But hey, they had a year or two of runway. Where did the money go? Well, per this employee, our founders put aside a bunch of money in Luna, and they lost it all with the downfall of Luna. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I mean that not as a turn of phrase, I mean that seriously, but I believe Luna was one of those stable coins that would basically end up repaying people a fairly nice, you could effectively say an interest rate. And it was one of those things where, like, on paper, the plan should work and it should all be good, and a lot of capital went into Luna, but it ended up there was problems, and basically the whole thing just went tits up, and this was bad. Now, this is doubly bad because Pixie owed roughly 800,000 in taxes from what this employee was told.
Oh my goodness.
And that's the thing as a company. You need to have a big old pot of cash sitting there for whenever it's time to pay your taxes. That bit always feels really bad, by the way.
Yeah, that's the one thing, like, a lot of people in the UK kind of don't really feel the impact of that because you're taxed at every step of the way as soon as your money comes in. You don't have to come back at the end and go, okay, well, I need to have a big chunk of my earnings saved so that they can be given away to the government. And like, a lot of people don't realize that, but as a corporation, that the amount of businesses that's killed, where like people just just spend, look at all the money you have, but they forgot that that's not yours.
Yeah, people have got to plan well, and if we're being doomers about taxes, I mean, most people would understand that. Apparently, Scandinavians, generally speaking, have pretty high taxes, but are like not furious about it because they feel like they actually get value for money for their taxes. Yeah, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah, it's because their governments, I mean, as far as I'm aware, tend to what was it that governments sometimes do? Oh yes, their job.
Yes.
Oh, yes, they work. Yeah.
Here in Northern Ireland, our government has they failed to form one because of crazy things from Northern Ireland. So
we're still getting paid for it too.
Yeah, feels good, bros. Yep. But yeah, so okay, taxes cleaned the company out. Now maybe the founders would have been able to get around this problem if they were putting their full efforts in, because they actually started another project called NFT Vault not too long after the mint for Northern Guilds. NFT Vault failed pretty quickly, and it was an out-of-pocket thing from them, but obviously it did take away, some of their attention, and this is something that people actually did feel. The CEO was unable to lead, fulfill deadlines, effectively communicate, show up for meetings. Excessive business travels are taking place in March, April, April and May that seemed unnecessary. These were justified by the need to find investors, but they just ended up blowing through even more money. They faced challenges with their creative lead since November 2021, who was unable to provide a GDD, a game design document, for months, and then it was delivered, but basically it was incomplete and it was weak. It did not have enough detail for them to actually develop off. And this shit's really important because take a programmer implementing systems. They need to know the requirements of the systems that they're making, because otherwise what will happen is they will make their systems very watertight and generic, but not specific for their, for the use case. And this can all incur a thing that's called technical debt, which can be just lead to things being a shit show, and it can lead to those crazy crunch situations where a game is just a sprint forever.
Yeah, and if you ever wondered why indie games don't just get published all over the place, or why people don't just throw substantial amounts of money at indies to make them go based off a good idea, this is exactly why. Because there's an awful lot of developers who end up, not intentionally, but end up having these problems of just, maybe the motivation, the drive's not always there, especially in these realms where you're in there for like money. You're just like, I'll just go do another thing instead.
Yeah.
And you just have, sorry, no game doc, sorry, don't know what I'm doing, shit. Project's a complete nightmare.
Yeah,
happens.
And this is stuff that was compounded on by, just the likes of the CEO, Tom, kind of disappearing during the majority of funding, bankruptcy, communication, and the leadership process.
That's all of it, actually.
Stringing people along with promises that finished work and updates would come soon. And apparently Wesley was the only one of the founders who was actually attempting to support the employees throughout this. Now, there is seemingly an employee-led effort to salvage something from this, because basically they say some of the team members are working to get the Northern Guild's IP and assets rescued. There is a glimmer of hope. They don't want to lose 9+ months' work. I guess I'd say there, hey, the game they're trying to make actually seems really cool, but maybe just try to secure more traditional funding for it, please. I mean, then maybe people will actually embrace you, and you can have that idea of, hey, we're just the employees. We want to make a really sick game. The founders are doing all those things for the business reasons. Now we are going off, hey, look at this cool alpha of a game that we have. Can money me, please, now? Yeah. Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah, instead of what happened to the last time we talked about a crypto game that fell apart, and it wasn't even going to be too much of a crypto game in the end, and it fell apart because the investors were crypto investors, and then kind of all of their money disappeared. So that's the thing, you kind of have to go for like the more, if you're really super interested in making a game, you have to kind of go the fundamental route, the basic route, the route that works, as opposed to the, hey, this one's got 10 times the money, but also 700,000 times the risk. And that's just, the more this goes wrong, the more lessons people will learn, and the more because I mean, obviously crypto investment is such a, like, so much temptation in it, right? Because it's just, you're a developer. Well, if you just put just a little tiny bit of crypto in your game, just a little tiny bit of crypto, because I'm an investor, I love just a spoonful of crypto to help the money go down or something, and then maybe it doesn't work. But that idea of you've got a crypto investor who's like, well, how much you want? Like, well, I'm an indie game, so maybe like 200k, because I'm a solo dev, and I'll hire like one person, it'll take a couple years, and then they just go, what'd you do with 20 mil? Or like, where'd you get that from? Crypto? Okay, sweet, let's go. It'd be hard to ignore the siren call of like, here's just loads and loads of money, but that money's not going to be real in like 2 years, because the chance of it is going to disappear.
Well, do you know what is going to linger around?
Yep.
The actual NFTs. This is the funny thing. The game is gone in a way, but the blockchain ain't. The NFT Vikings still exist. They're there. There's no rest for them.
Like ghosts.
So even while this crazy shit's happening, people are still trading these in OpenSea.
Oh my god, ghosts on the chain.
Which was funny. There's sales available while we've been working on this video. But remember, these are not just little images. No, these are incredibly important parts of a game, and of course in the play-to-earn economy. Very good. So overall, we're going to see, I think, indies continue to fail here. I think we're going to see more implosions and a lot of bullshit. But bigger and bigger coffers will want to move into this space. And the reason why we want to highlight these stories is, could these be the indies plus investors early version of something that significantly larger AAA companies want to move into? Because those, in many cases, are companies that can deal with the costs.
Yeah.
Those are companies that are not going to ideally run in such an incompetent way as these people did, right? they're not going to put all their money into Luna and then go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So it's with this that Square Enix, Bandai Namco, Sega, and Ubisoft are signed up as validators on the Oasis on Oasis blockchain technology. Now, Oasis claim that their proof of stake mechanism is less intensive than proof of work methods in environmental terms. Basically, it's like a whole bunch of things. Actually, I think the entire Ethereum chain is moving on to something that's significantly more sustainable very soon. And these are, like, in many cases, massive orders of magnitude step changes in the environmental side of things, which obviously is really good. There are actually lots of cool things, and, the blockchain is because at the end of the day, it's just technology, right? Technology, generally good and interesting. The problem, though, is when humans use it. So,
because we're very stupid, apparently.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, good uses, or at least neat implementations of things that can be done with blockchain. I am not anti-blockchain, in some sort of way without thinking about it. I just have a lot of disagreements with a lot of projects and the way that it's kind of turning into a speculative bubble with a whole bunch of huckstering going on.
Yeah, it's the same thing as anything. It's speculation. People are in there to make a quick buck, and it becomes this, like we're talking about this how many times now, with the whole version of crypto breaking into games and trying to infect everything like some sort of really shitty virus, makes everything terrible. That's kind of the problem, where it's like the core ideas are fine, but rightfully so. Anytime anyone goes, our game has the blockchain, you're like, why? What's your goal?
What's the grift?
Yeah, what's the grift? What is the pyramid scheme here? Oh yeah, it is pyramid scheme, right? Go away, come back when you've actually got a good idea. And so far, no one's had a good idea that's actually worked or been done. And that's the thing where people are kind of feeling that and going, get away.
Yeah, so Square Enix in particular claim that the partnership is a part of their plan to explore the feasibility of harnessing user contributions in their games. And as GamesBeat have since explained, the name Oasis is actually inspired by Oasis, ontologically anthropocentric sensory immersive simulation. I didn't pre-read that, and I was not expecting that, but okay. Basically, VR Ready Player One like world.
That the Oasis is literally the term from Ready Player One.
Oh, right. I've not read the book or watched the movie.
No, don't. The book's interesting as a piece to see how really cynical you can be about, I guess, nostalgia for the 80s, and how you can kind of see how people would like, you know what it is? It's the Torment Nexus, right?
Ah, yes, don't make the Torment Nexus.
Yeah, we have successfully created the Torment Nexus from the popular and critically acclaimed book, Please Don't Create the Torment Nexus. That's exactly that's exactly what it is, where the writer of Ready Player One was so just in love with the 80s and like the VR and all like video games and all like the pop culture and stuff, that I don't even know if he was completely aware of all of the absolute awful nightmare hellscape that he created in the Oasis. And I mean, like, no one ever watches the trailer of Ready Player One or watches the movie and goes, that is a trailer park stacked up. Everyone is really, really, really grim. People are tremendously out of shape and they're clearly unhappy outside of this virtual world. That must be a good thing. So, because the virtual world's really good.
Let's just say perhaps DARPA comes out with the Cylon Model 1, codename Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Maybe that's bad, or they come out with the Cylon Model 2, codename Terminator.
Yeah.
Maybe the point is that's bad.
Yeah, the point is don't create the Torment Nexus, but people really love the Torment Nexus because I guess they're stupid or can't read between the lines of themes or get too caught up that they kind of are willfully ignorant to it. But it's like, that's the thing that really pisses me off every time. It's like, this is the Oasis after Ready Player One. It's like, did you not realize Ready Player One, that world was awful?
Yeah,
that world wasn't awful. The whole point of that entire book was this corporation is going to take control of this virtual world and literally ruin life for everyone. Also, life's already ruined for everyone. They have to do everything virtually because the world is a nightmare.
I was listening to one of the episodes of Tim Ferriss's podcast with the Zuck. And it's one of those things where it's like, look, I'm happy enough to listen to the Zuck, see what he's got to say. And mostly the way that he's talking about it is in a fairly aspirational world, trying to harness these things to help with interconnectedness. So, I mean, I suppose maybe the idea that, I don't know, there's a virtual lounge, me and my parents both pop our little AR goggles on, and we can wave to each other and say hello. And I suppose there is a version of that where you can see it being kind of neat. Now, in fairness, I think that's not with a Meta Quest 2.
Yeah.
From what I hear, Apple's more just a glasses-like thing. I've actually seen one that's being made. I think it's one of the Chinese tech companies, where honestly it's quite shocking how compact the AR goggles are. So eventually, when that's a very seamless thing, and you can see like the okay version of that's like neat, but
Yeah.
they're often missing the point, I think, of whenever there's just the neat tech demo, but then what happens when all of the powers of the attention economy are leveraged onto this thing. And what happens, because like I know people will be humongous coomers with their Meta Quest 2, let's be real, but fewer people will be than whenever they are as beautiful and thin and easy as a pair of glasses like what we're wearing today. And I think that's what people worry about. Whenever the Zucks whole thing is available on basically something that feels like putting on some swimming goggles and is hyper immersive, very comfortable, can be, done for hours, and is very seamless with, you being able to see through the VR into your surroundings, which, I mean, you can already do in the Meta Quest, but stuff like that, so that it's just all the usability things are gone. It's not heavy, it doesn't hurt your neck, all that. And then you can just go advertising to the tits.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? The point of all of these technologies is we live in a world today that is almost all marketing. Everything is marketed. We market everything to you. We try to be responsible about it and try to, deliver value and talk about interesting things and don't just sell you on the positive side of things. We talk about the negative unpriced externalities. Mm-hmm. Because you're sitting there, you go, you want to make a product. Well, how do you do that? You tell investors how cool it's going to be. You don't tell investors how it's going to fuck everything up. You don't tell people who are going to buy it, oh yeah, by the way, I would highly recommend against buying a mobile phone because here's 40,000 ways your life can go to shit immediately because of all of the problems you can run into. It's like the internet. Oh, great, everyone's connected. Oh, great. Oh no, everyone's connected. There is the downside, but none of that's ever sold. And that's where you get to people who talk about stuff aspirationally, like, this is great. These are all of the positive things. It's like, how long have you spent thinking about the negatives? I don't even have to think about them a lot. They're not going to tell you. Because they're not going to tell you because they aren't interested in...
Yeah.
They aren't interested in the whole picture. They're interested in selling you what's going on.
I mean, Meta just wound down a department full of, tech ethicists.
Yeah.
Right, the people who work in ethics and tech. And the thing is...
As soon as you wind down a group of tech ethicists, then you go, well, maybe they weren't being that effective. Maybe they weren't that good at their job. But also you go... That's exactly like Google removing "Don't be evil" from their motto.
So I was thinking,
it's like, what do you mean you fired your tech ethicists? Does that mean you're no longer interested in ethics and technology? Then we can't trust anything you make.
And the thing is, and I guess to bring it back to Play to Earn, because look, Play to Earn, the reason why we'd even bring that into VR and AR is because it is creating this, digital world with real scarcity, right? Like, what they want to do is basically... those Jerome Powell memes of just printing the money? they want to do that meme, but to Second Life.
Yeah.
Like, really, right?
They want to put you in their world that they completely control, and then they control every part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll skim the top off everything. They just want to create a virtual economy that, like, look, I want to go pay for something in the shop. I just, double tap, authenticates my face, boop, done. Yeah. And in fairness... Great. And I know there's a bunch of benefits to just having cold hard cash. I get that. But honestly, I'm okay with this arrangement right now. It's very convenient. I don't have coins in my wallet, all of that stuff. So that is like the good of the technology, right? Making things easier, more convenient, more secure. Certainly there's also very nice uses for cash that, we lose with this. But
yes,
you get my point.
Yeah, such
now,
as
what happens,
not being tracked when you buy stuff.
Yeah. Now, what happens when that level of just ease and everything is applied to, crypto, is applied to Play to Earn, and all of that stuff? And then you can just sort of see where they want to go, right? Where, there's going to be a limited, take the sneaker game right now. And maybe, if you don't know about sneakers, I don't. But the Channel 5 video with your man Callahan was really funny going to SneakerCon. But, those guys, they love sneakers. Now, there's going to be a digital drop of 1,000 sneaker NFTs to use in the metaverse. Whatever the emerging, let's call it the Oasis. That's the way that they want to do it. So it's not just, oh, these are like, little cosmetic, DLCs for your character. No. These are NFTs. There's only 1,000 of them. They all operate on the chain. There'll be a secondary market for them and all that. Basically, do you remember, MMO item buying services in the early 2000s? They just want to turn everything into that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how that's going to be really bad for games. And again, when you see like Squeenix talking about harnessing user contributions, basically what that is, I want you to think about it in these terms. So imagine we have Sky Meta. Meta Rim.
Okay.
The Elder Scrolls verse. Okay? Imagine it's Zuck's Skyrim, okay? And you have a bunch of... and hey, this has even been a thing with Valve games. And you just have a bunch of creators, making items. Well, instead of, those items just being downloaded on the Nexus or being a part of, the Creation Club, they would rather just create this huge fucking market that they collect 30% off. And they can just harvest the money from those user contributions. And then it's a system where it's like, well, we have created and there are pros and cons here, because that would create a financial incentive for people to go and use their skills to make cool shit for the game. And that would mean there'd be more cool shit made for the game. It's almost like the way that people advocate for paid mods. That said, when people advocate for paid mods, they generally don't include scarcity with it. But of course, that pumps the value up. And then you can see how for Square Enix, this would just be, we shall skim the top off this forever.
Yeah,
infinite money. We don't even have to do the work. These fucking chumps do it for us. And that is the goal.
It is effectively, for a way to frame it, and this came into my head because apparently we are just going full doomer today. I was just thinking, it's, in the Matrix, right? All of the humans are basically bioelectric batteries, which doesn't really make that much sense when you think about it. But anyway, that's just a side part. But the point there is that that's what they want to do, but for money, where you just live in their little virtual world and you make money for them, basically. Do stuff for them, make money for them, and that's about it. And that's that's ultimately the end goal. It's not necessarily that cynical, because whenever someone at Square Enix says we want to explore the feasibility of harnessing user contributions, they probably have all these great ideas of like, oh, this is gonna be really cool. Oh yeah, what if we can people can actually earn money, and people can they can make stuff, and we can create a platform through which their creativity will be harnessed by more people. And that's a case where if something like YouTube was being set up today, I'd be really cynical about it.
Oh yeah.
Because YouTube is it works obviously quite well in terms of how much value is provided for people. Well, that clearly works, but that was effectively an accident in a way. Now to orchestrate that, you would end up going the play to earn route of just massive skimming, just make it as hard as possible for everyone.
Yeah, in a way, I am fairly pro creating a platform that allows for people to run a business, right? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, YouTube, that's not a real job. I mean, you look around our studio, many thousands in cameras, sets, rent, writers, like the World of Warcraft lore videos that we make. If it was just me, it wouldn't go like that. And you certainly wouldn't have this content as well. So the YouTube partner program, take Marquez Brownlee, Linus Tech Tips, Gamers Nexus, right? All these, great people that I enjoy watching. It's like, if it was not for the YouTube partnership program, things would look very different. So what YouTube did is it came in and said, all right, we can do the video bit. Here's what the split is. We'll put in a whole bunch of work to make the adverts pay for you guys. You make some content, and it ends up being a win-win situation. I think that's why YouTube has grown so much. It has been a genuinely good win-win. Now, there are issues. There's obviously times where YouTube fuck up. There's probably times where creators fuck up too.
I mean, that's the thing,
but
right?
It is the idea of creating a new realm where people can earn money. Take the app stores and phones. It's like, now that our phones are powerful enough to run more apps, it means that instead of some shitty to-do list like you would have had on an old PDA, do you remember looking through the Argos catalog at the PDA section and looking, oh wow, look at that tech, how cool. Well, if you like Todoist, or you like Notion, or any of these things, like there's so much, less Notion or, Things 3 or whatever those apps are. So we're not sitting here saying running a business is bad. Building a platform to, expand economy stuff is bad. We're not saying that. I think what we are saying is that these things have got to be measured and be careful.
Yeah, because all of the positives you just discussed do also have extremely negative alternatives. It's about being able to find a balance. And so far, all we've seen from play to earn is bad juju. And that's the weird thing. I've been using that to describe a lot of things personally, is bad juju. But that's the thing where I can feel in my gut, whatever humanity's left in my soul is going, that seems like a pretty bad idea. And I can't quite put words to it. I just kind of have this like subconscious imagining of the future. Go, yeah, that's bad juju. Don't play with that. Do not mess with that at all. And that's what I feel about play to earn. And I think everyone feels the same. Because that's the only time you really get loads of like people together, is when everyone's like instinct is, no, that's bad. It's like the uncanny valley for ideas. We're like, what's the uncanny valley? That's when something seemed human but wasn't quite human enough to convince you. And some part of your subconscious is going, get away from that. That's terrifying. And you wonder, why does the uncanny valley as an instinct exist? What did our ancestors see that made us develop that way? Or evolve that way? I don't know. Were there skinwalkers back in the day? Are they still around? But that's the point where it's like play to earn is like a manifestation of that. Where everyone's saying, this is bad. We don't want this. The externalities of this, we don't trust. You're selling this to us. You're just building a pyramid scheme. And hopefully now that this is like, we've seen so many versions of this fail. And we've seen all of the negativities and all the what we would expect of a big platform. They'd be able to brush all the negatives under the sofa. They'd be able to, I guess, like eat all the costs and pretend they aren't happening and go, hey, it's all good, it's all happy, it's all fine. But we see all of the negativity. So now when Square Enix go, hey, we're going to be part of the Oasis, and Bandai Namco do the same, and Ubisoft and Sega, and then Western companies try to set up their own at the same time, everyone can go, look at all these examples of how stupid this is, don't do this, we will band together and use our gamer power to not let you do this.
Gamer power!
Yeah, we will make so much bad press, you won't do this, you will stop doing this. And an example of that is actually what happened to Ubisoft recently, with that Mirage having real gambling as the ESRB rating that wasn't actually real, it was just a bug in like the store, showing that it was adults only and had real gambling. And their response was, this is not, it's pending rating, but it does not have gambling loot boxes. They didn't say it's not going to be rated adult only, we don't have these themes. They were like, don't worry, we're not doing that. We know you don't like it, we know this is bad, we know this is a toxic thing to touch, so we won't. So hopefully we can actually kind of get enough kind of stink kicked up about all of these examples and go, no, don't. This is too toxic a thing for you to touch because it will destroy video games. Please don't do it. That's the vibe we're, I think, getting towards all these failures.
Or at the very least, if some of that does happen in the way that mobile gaming is just siloed off.
Yeah, you get your corner.
Yeah. So, look, that's the situation. A few of these big companies clearly do want to reap the benefits of this, which does financially make sense. But is it necessarily aligned in our best interests? I would say almost certainly not. So, that's that situation. Let us know what your take on all this is, and I'll see you next time.